Part 1. He looked at me like he already knew. They say college is where you find yourself. But sometimes you find something or someone that changes you before you even know who you are. My name is Aiden Monroe. I'm 20, third-year poli-sci major at a mid-sized university in Northern California. Nothing elite, nothing glamorous. Just brick buildings, overpriced coffee, and the kind of professors who carry decades of unspoken rules behind their eyes. And one of them was Professor Leo Hart. He taught comparative ethics, a class I picked by accident. At 9 a.m., I was supposed to drop, but I didn't because of him. Not at first. At first, it was the way he walked in that Monday morning. Dark jeans, rolled sleeves, no tie, just a black watch on his left wrist, and glasses he didn't really need. He looked more like a screenwriter than a professor. And when he spoke, the whole room shifted. His voice was calm, measured, but underneath there was this intensity, like he wanted you to understand something deeper. I sat in the back row that first day, half asleep, until he said, "The greatest ethical conflict is always between what's right and what's real." I looked up. He was staring straight at me. And I swear, in that second, he saw me, not just like, "Hey, kid in the back row," but really saw me, like I was a file he'd already opened, like I was unfinished business. After class, I gathered my stuff, fast, but before I could slip out, his voice stopped me. "Aiden, right?" I turned. His eyes were soft, curious, but behind them, something else, like he already knew where this would lead. "Yeah," I said, throat dry. "Sorry, I didn't think you'd notice me." "I notice more than you think," he replied, then smiled. But it wasn't casual. It was quiet, private, and in that smile, I felt a warning I didn't understand. The next week, I moved closer, third row, just to see if he'd look again. He did, every class, not in an obvious way, but enough to make me wonder, enough to make my hands sweat when I raised them. He asked hard questions, not like quizzes, more like traps. And when I answered, he'd nod slowly, like peeling something back in his head. And sometimes, when the class laughed, he didn't. He just looked at me, and I couldn't tell if I wanted to vanish or lean in closer. One day after lecture, he asked me to stay. No one else, just me. I waited by his desk while the room cleared. He didn't look up for a moment. Then he closed his laptop. "You got a sharp instinct," he said. "Ever think of applying to the ethics fellowship next semester?" I shook my head. I didn't even know that was a thing. "It is," he said, "and it's usually juniors and seniors. But you'd fit." I blinked. "Why me?" He smiled again, that same quiet, private one. "Because you ask the right questions, even when you're scared of the answers." I didn't know what to say to that. I think I just nodded. Then he leaned in, voice low. "The deadline's next Friday. Don't tell anyone I recommended you. Just apply." And that was the first time he said it. Don't tell anyone. The next few weeks were a blur. The application, the essay, the nights I stayed up too late, rewriting the same paragraph, just hoping it would impress him. Not the board, not the department. Him. I saw him every week in class, but we never spoke outside it, except once. I was walking across the quad late on a Tuesday. Library had just closed, and I saw him, leaning against the railing near the west gate, alone. He looked up, saw me, didn't smile this time, just nodded. "Out late," he said. "So are you?" I shot back. He chuckled softly. I could say the same. I stopped, just a few feet away now. The air felt different between us. I submitted the fellowship app. I said, "Thanks for recommending it." His jaw tightened just slightly. Then he looked around. "You really want this, Aiden?" I hesitated. Then, "I think I want to know why you think I should want it." He stared at me, silent, for a long time, then stepped closer. "The rules here, they're different than they seem," he said quietly. "And some doors, once you open them, you don't close them again." My chest tightened. "Are you saying I shouldn't have applied?" He shook his head. I'm saying if you get accepted, everything changes. I swallowed. Good changes. That smile again. But this time, it felt dangerous. Depends on what you want. Then he turned to go, and just as he passed me, he said it again. Don't tell anyone about this. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of the fellowship, not because of what he said, but because I realized something. I didn't just want the opportunity. I wanted him. And suddenly, I didn't know where the line was anymore, or if I'd already crossed it. A week later, an envelope showed up in my dorm mailbox. Thick, cream-colored, embossed seal. Inside, "Congratulations, Aiden Monroe. You've been accepted into the Hart Fellowship Program, named after him, Professor Leo Hart." I sat down on the floor of the mailroom, staring at it. My pulse thudded in my ears, and all I could think was, what the hell have I just stepped into? If you were in my shoes, would you follow a professor who made you feel something you couldn't explain? Or would you walk away before it got too real? Comment below and tell me, would you risk everything for something forbidden? Like, share and subscribe, because part 2 is where it all begins to unravel. Part 2, he said we were just talking, but it didn't feel that way. They say nothing really changes overnight, but they're wrong, because the night I got into the fellowship, everything shifted. There were 10 of us, 10 students picked from across the university, philosophy majors, political science, pre-law, all sharp, all focused, all a little too intense. And then there was me, Aiden Monroe, the wild card. We met every Friday afternoon in a conference room on the 3rd floor of a humanities building. Floor-to-ceiling windows, long table, no distractions, except him. Professor Hart led it, always calm, always poised, but different now. He didn't call me out in front of the others, didn't treat me special. But sometimes, when the others were busy debating, he'd glance at me, not long, not obvious, just enough to remind me, you're not imagining this. One day after seminar, I stayed behind, pretended to be packing my bag slow. Everyone filed out, except him. He didn't even look up at first, just kept flipping through some papers. "You're doing well," he said finally. "You belong here." I swallowed. Some of them don't think so. He looked up, dead serious. "I do." Then silence, the kind that stretches too far. Feels like it's asking a question without asking. I sat back down in my chair, let the moment hang. He closed his folder, then leaned forward slightly. "Tell me something, Aiden." I waited. If you had a truth, one that could cost you everything, would you still say it out loud? My heart clenched. What kind of truth? His eyes didn't leave mine. The kind that makes you feel more alive than anything else, but you're not allowed to feel it. My throat went dry. "Are we still talking about ethics?" He smirked. "Just barely. Maybe." I stood, faster than I meant to. "I should go." He nodded, didn't stop me, but as I reached for the door, his voice came low behind me. "Some truths don't stay quiet forever." After that, I avoided him. Kind of. I still showed up, still took notes, still participated. But I didn't linger, didn't look too long. Until the day he asked me to his office. Said it was about my paper. Said he had feedback. I told myself it was normal, professional, but my hands wouldn't stop shaking as I climbed the stairs. His office was small, books stacked everywhere, soft lamplight, blinds half closed. He motioned for me to sit, then closed the door. No lock, but it felt like it. He handed me my paper, marked up, comments in the margins. "Your argument's solid," he said, "but I'm more interested in what you didn't say." I glanced up. "What do you mean?" "You wrote about moral conflict, about people who bend rules to protect something personal." He leaned forward. "Was that hypothetical?" I didn't answer, because it wasn't. It was about us, about this thing I couldn't name. He stood, walked to the window, then back again. "I've crossed lines before," he said quietly. "Years ago." My chest tightened. I paid for it, he added. Still am. I swallowed hard. Why are you telling me this? Because you look at me like you're thinking the same things I am. I stared at the floor, afraid to breathe, and I need to know. He paused. If that's true, it was every thought, every pulse, every second. I looked up, met his eyes, and whispered, "It is." He didn't move, didn't speak, just stood there, watching me. Then, slowly, he sat back down, voice low, measured. "We don't talk about this again. Not here, not like this." "Why?" I asked, even though I already knew. "Because I could lose everything," he said. Then, softer, "And I think you could too." I left his office in a daze, my paper clutched in my hand. Everything was the same outside. Students rushing, laughter on the quad. But inside me, the ground was cracked wide open. And still, I wanted more. More glances, more questions, more him. That night, I got a text. Blocked number, no name, library rooftop. 10 p.m., come alone. I stared at it, my heart pounding. And for some reason, I knew it was him. To be continued in part 3. Part 3. One night changed everything. There are nights that slip by without meaning, nights that blur into the rest. And then there are nights that split your life in two, before and after. 10 p.m., library rooftop. I stood at the bottom of the stairwell, staring up. The building was dark. The regular lights had shut off an hour ago, but I knew the roof door didn't lock. Everyone knew. Still, I'd never gone up there, not until now. I climbed slow, each step echoing, like the stairwell wanted to warn me. I reached the top, pressed the bar, and the door opened. Wind hit me first, then silence, the kind that lives above the city noise. And then I saw him, Professor Hart, leaning against the short wall at the edge, looking out, hands in his coat pockets, face lit by the campus lights below. He didn't turn, didn't speak, just stood there like he'd been waiting forever. I walked slowly, feet crunching against rooftop gravel. When I got close, he finally spoke. "I used to come up here when I was a student." I blinked. "You went here." He nodded. "Class of '05, philosophy and ethics." I exhaled. Something about that made him feel more real. He turned to face me, and for a second, we just stared at each other. Not like student and professor, not like anything we were supposed to be, just people. Two souls standing in a place the world forgot. "I shouldn't have asked you to come," he said quietly. "But you did." He nodded. "I did." A pause, the kind where nothing's said, but everything is decided. "I don't want to pretend I don't feel this," I whispered. His jaw tightened. His eyes flicked down, then back up, and for once, he didn't hide it. "I think about you more than I should," he admitted. My breath caught. Then why run from it? "Because I've seen what happens when you cross that line." "Is that what this is?" I asked. "A line." He stepped closer. Not fast, just enough to let the air change between us. It's the only one I've ever cared about. We stood there, no touching, no noise, just gravity, the kind that pulls you towards something you're not supposed to want. I reached out, my hand brushed his, barely, but he didn't move. He looked at me like I was a question he wasn't sure how to answer, and then his fingers closed around mine. No words, just contact, and the feeling of every rule we both learned cracking beneath it. "I can't be what you want me to be," he said quietly. "I'm not asking you to." I replied, "I just want to know what's real." His breath shook. Then he pulled me closer and kissed me, not like a mistake, not like he'd regret it, but like it was the only honest thing left in the world. His hand moved to my jaw, mine slid under his coat, and suddenly I wasn't cold anymore. The city vanished below us. The world shrank to the sound of our hearts, beating in sync, fast, wild, undeniable. When we pulled apart, I couldn't breathe. not from fear, but because I didn't want to lose a moment. He rested his forehead against mine. "I shouldn't have done that," he whispered. "But you did." And he nodded again. "I did." We didn't go further. Not that night. We just stood in the silence, breathing, knowing we both crossed the one line. He swore not to, and knowing neither of us wanted to turn back. The next morning, campus looked the same. Students rushing to class, coffee cups, backpacks. But everything inside me felt louder, like the world had opened a little wider, like I wasn't afraid anymore. But he was. I didn't see him in class that day, or the next. A sub showed up with a printed packet and no explanation. Said Professor Hart was traveling for academic review. No one questioned it, but I did, because I knew he wasn't away on business. He was hiding from me, from himself, from what we did. 3 days passed, then a week. No texts, no rooftop messages, nothing, just silence and questions. Did I push too far? Did I imagine a connection? Did he regret it already? And then a knock on my dorm door, late, past midnight. I opened it, and there he was, wearing the same coat, hair a mess, eyes tired, but real, more real than I'd ever seen him. "Can I come in?" he asked. I stepped aside, heart pounding. He didn't sit, didn't touch me, just stood near the window, looking out, arms folded tight. "I had to leave," he said. "I needed space to think." I waited, and he turned. Everything in me says to walk away. "But you're here." He nodded slowly. "I'm here." We didn't kiss this time, didn't even touch, but the air between us was heavier than anything physical. "I'm not asking you to risk your career," I whispered. "I just want to know what's real and what was a rooftop fantasy." His voice cracked. "You're real." Then, "The way I feel around you scares the hell out of me." I stepped closer. "I don't want you to be scared," I said. "I want you to be honest." He finally looked at me, and in his eyes, everything I needed to know. "Then here's my truth," he said. "I haven't stopped thinking about that night. I don't think I ever will." Silence. Then, "I'm not asking you to love me," he added. "But if you do, I need to know I'm not alone in this." My voice was shaking, but my answer wasn't. "You're not alone." And with that, something settled between us. Not a plan, not a promise, just the beginning of something neither of us could explain. But neither of us wanted to lose. Because that night didn't just change everything. It started everything. And nothing about us would ever be simple again. To be continued in Part 4. Part 4, we were just a secret until we weren't. Some things feel safer in the dark, hidden in whispered promises, unspoken glances, rooftop silences. But secrets have a way of crawling into the light, especially when the world is watching. The morning after he came to my dorm, I woke up different. Not because anything physical had happened, because it hadn't. We talked. We sat inches apart on the edge of my bed. No touching, no kissing, but everything unspoken was louder than words. When he left, he didn't say goodbye. He just said, "I'll see you in class." And that was enough. That Friday, the seminar room felt warmer than usual. Or maybe it was just me. My skin buzzed with memory. My heart ran wild the second he entered. Professor Hart, same rolled sleeves, same calm voice, same watch on his left wrist. But his eyes, they flicked toward me like a spark. Quick, private, intentional. I didn't look away this time, because I wasn't scared anymore. The others debated a case study, something about whistleblowing in high-risk industries. But I couldn't focus, not with the way he kept shifting his gaze toward me, not with the memory of his voice in my room, not with the weight of what we now shared. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was something, and I was falling fast. After class, he said it casually, "Aiden, can you stay back a second?" No one batted an eye. He did it all the time, with other students too. But this time, My hands started sweating. I waited by his desk. The last student left. The door clicked shut. He didn't speak right away, just packed his laptop slowly. Then, I meant what I said the other night. My voice caught. So did I. He looked up, smiled softly, then hesitated. There's a faculty conference next weekend, he said, off campus, about the fellowship program expansion. I'm presenting. I nodded slowly. Okay. They're inviting student fellows to observe. You'll get an email. I didn't breathe. And you're saying that because... His eyes didn't move. Because if you go, we'll have time. Outside all this. I felt the words settle deep in my chest. Time. Time with him. Without eyes. Without walls. Without rules. The email came that night. Subject: invitation to attend Ethics Expansion Conference, Napa Valley campus. Dear Ada Monroe, you've been selected as one of 3 students to attend the upcoming academic retreat. It was formal, perfectly legit. Nobody would question it, but I knew what it meant. The night before we left, I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the invitation, reading the agenda, packing, unpacking, repacking. What if it was a mistake? What if I read too much into it? What if I was walking into something he wasn't ready for? But then he texted, bring something warm. It gets cold at night. And just like that, I exhaled. The retreat center was in the hills, with cabins, fire pits, lectures in open-air spaces. Everything about it screamed professional, academic, structured, but underneath it all, a pulse, a current, a pull, because he was there, and so was I. During the day, we barely spoke. He kept things professional, even distant, which made me ache. But I got it. We had to be careful. One slip, and everything could unravel. I was just a student. He was faculty. The ethics of the situation were ironic at best. But at night, when the sessions ended and the campus lights dimmed, something changed. It started with a knock. Not loud, just 2 soft taps. I opened my cabin door, and there he was, wearing a hoodie, hands in his pockets. Walk with me? He asked. I didn't even grab a jacket. The air outside was cool, stars sharp in the sky. No one else around. We walked along a gravel path near the tree line. Quiet, unhurried. This place feels fake, I said finally, like a movie set. He smiled. Everything in academia does. We walked a little further, then stopped under a tree. He leaned back against the trunk. I stood in front of him. Close. Too close. I keep thinking this will get easier, he murmured. But it doesn't. Being near me? Being near you and pretending it doesn't matter. I swallowed hard. What if we stopped pretending? He looked up slowly, eyes soft. And what would that look like, Aiden? I didn't answer, not with words. I stepped closer, leaned in, and kissed him. Right there, under that tree, in the dark, where no one could see. It wasn't reckless. It wasn't rushed. It was quiet, measured, but full of everything we hadn't said. His hands found my waist. Mine curled in his hoodie. And for a second, we didn't belong to the world. We belonged to each other. When we finally pulled back, he rested his forehead against mine. If this gets out, he whispered, I know. I could lose everything. So could I. But you'd do it anyway? I didn't even hesitate. For you? Yes. The next morning, everything felt sharper. Breakfast chatter, conference notes, faculty questions. But under it all, a shared glance, a private smile, like we carried a secret no one could steal. Until someone did. Later that afternoon, right after his panel, I saw him stiffen. He was standing near the coffee station, talking to another professor. Then his whole body changed. I followed his gaze and froze. Across the courtyard, a girl from our seminar, Hannah, staring at us, wide-eyed, mouth parted. I don't know what she saw, but she saw something. The way I was watching him, the way his face softened, the way the air moved between us. That night, he didn't knock. No text, no walk, No kiss, just cold silence. And in my chest, a hollow ache. When I finally saw him the next morning, he looked different. Walls back up, face unreadable. No eye contact. I tried to pull him aside. He shook his head. Not here, but I knew the secret was slipping, and we couldn't outrun it much longer. That night, I packed early, heart in my throat. He didn't text, didn't knock, but I couldn't sit still. So I walked past the cabins, toward the fire pit, empty, and then I heard it, my name, soft. Behind me, I turned. He was there, wearing the same hoodie, but everything in his face was cracked. Aiden, what happened? He exhaled. Someone saw us. I already knew, but hearing it said, out loud, felt like being punched. Hannah! He nodded. She didn't say anything. Not yet, but she saw enough. I sat down on the bench, hands shaking. What do we do? He sat beside me, close but not touching. We decide what this means, he said. To you? I asked. He looked at me, and the answer was in his eyes. Everything. To be continued in Part 5. Part 5. I was ready to burn my life down. But was he? Some people run from fire. Others light the match themselves. But love, real love, is the kind that turns your whole life into kindling and asks if you're brave enough to strike the spark. That night, sitting beside him in the dark, I knew I was. We didn't touch, didn't kiss, didn't risk it. Too many eyes, too many walls. But our silence was louder than anything I'd ever heard. And the way he looked at me, it didn't feel like goodbye. It felt like the beginning of war. The next morning, the bus back to campus was quiet. 30 of us, faculty and students, laptops, headphones, empty stares. He sat in the front. I was near the back, and for 5 hours, we didn't speak. Not a glance, not a nod, but I could feel him, like a wire stretched between us, tight, buzzing, ready to snap. By the time we pulled into campus, my body was aching, not from the ride, from the distance. He stepped off first, disappeared into a black car, gone, just like that. I spent the weekend in a fog, staring at my phone, reading over texts he never sent, wanting something, anything, to break the silence. But nothing came. Monday, seminar room. I walked in, heart racing. He was already there, standing at the whiteboard, notes in his hand, like nothing had happened, like we hadn't kissed, like he hadn't whispered he'd risk everything. I sat down, didn't look up, didn't know how. The room filled, buzzing, laughing, oblivious, and I sat there, heartbreaking, face still. He started the lecture, voice smooth, no tremble, no crack, until he called on me. Aiden, thoughts? I looked up, met his eyes, and for 1 second, the mask slipped. He saw me. I saw him. And everything we weren't saying screamed in silence. I think, I said carefully, that when someone crosses an ethical line, they can either run or own it. The room stilled. My words hung in the air. He nodded slowly. Interesting perspective. After class, I waited. Everyone filed out. I stayed seated. He didn't ask me to leave. When the room emptied, he walked to the window, back to me, hands tight at his sides. You're angry, he said. No, I replied. I'm hurt. Silence. You said you were ready. I added. You said it meant everything. He turned, and his eyes, they weren't cold. They were terrified. I am ready, he said, but I'm also realistic. You're scared. I could lose my job, Aiden, my license, my reputation. I stood, walked closer. I know, and I'm not asking you to go public. I'm not asking you to hold my hand across campus. He exhaled. Then what are you asking? Honesty, I whispered, not in front of them, just with me. He looked at me for a long time, then nodded. Okay. That night he texted, come over. back entrance, 9 p.m., and this time there was no hesitation. His apartment was small, books everywhere, a record player in the corner. He didn't say anything when I walked in, just took my coat, set it down gently, and kissed me, slow, certain, like he'd been holding his breath for weeks. We didn't talk for a while, just held each other, on the couch, in the dark, wrapped in something that felt more like truth than anything I'd ever known. Later, lying side by side under a throw blanket, he spoke. "I've never done this before. Been with a student?" I asked gently. "Been seen by one." I looked at him. He was staring at the ceiling, eyes glossy, mouth still. "I've lived my whole life being what I'm supposed to be," he whispered. "Polished, composed, respected. And now," I asked. He turned his head slowly, met my gaze. "Now, I feel alive, and I hate that it scares me." I reached for his hand, laced our fingers. "It scares me too," I admitted, "but that doesn't mean it's wrong." "No," he said softly. "It means it matters." The next few weeks blurred. Secret meetings, late-night walks, whispers in stairwells. He was careful, so careful, but I saw in the way his hand brushed mine when no one looked, the way he paused before saying my name, the way he memorized a schedule just to avoid suspicion. It was real, and it was growing, until the email. Subject, formal complaint filed. From Office of Student Integrity to Professor Hart. And just like that, the fire started. He called me that night, voice tight, shaking. Someone reported us. I couldn't breathe. What do we do? They want a meeting with both of us. Friday. Who reported it? He paused. Then, Hannah. I felt the world tilt. Everything inside me sunk. We had been so careful, but not careful enough. Friday came like a storm. We walked in separately. 2 chairs, a panel, a table between us. They asked questions. He answered calmly. I followed his lead. Yes, we knew each other. No, we hadn't violated university code. No, there was no sexual misconduct. Yes, we had developed a friendship outside of class. Yes, it was mutual. When they asked directly, have you had an intimate relationship with Professor Hart during your enrollment? I looked at him. He looked down. I said, no. And in that lie, everything inside me cracked. We walked out in silence. Down the hall, into the cold air. I grabbed his arm. This is going to tear us apart, isn't it? He turned to me, eyes red, voice low. It already is. To be continued in part 6. Part 6. He told me to stay away, but my heart couldn't. They say the heart wants what it wants, but they never talk about what it costs. Love isn't always warm. Sometimes it burns. Sometimes it scars. And sometimes it walks away before you're ready to let it go. That night, he let go. We stood outside the administrative building, cold air biting, silence louder than any argument. He wouldn't look at me. I reached out, fingers brushing his sleeve, and he stepped back. Not a flinch, not dramatic, just enough to say everything. I think we need to stop, he said, voice like sandpaper. Stop what? I already knew, but I needed him to say it. This, he whispered, whatever this is. The ache in my chest felt physical. A real crack forming between ribs. You don't mean that. He looked at me finally, eyes tired. I do. No, you're scared. I'm being smart. So that's it. I asked, heat rising in my throat. You fold? Just like that. I'm protecting you. Bullsh *T. You're protecting yourself. He winced, stepped farther back. I care about you, Aiden. Too much. That's the problem. I laughed bitterly, then walk away. Let the university win. Let Hannah win. Let fear win. He clenched his jaw, and then he turned and walked away. No goodbye, no second glance, just footsteps in the gravel, and silence. I didn't go to class the next day, or the one after that. Didn't eat. Didn't answer my friend's texts. I laid on my bed, eyes wide open, watching the ceiling like it held some answer I missed. How could something so real disappear so fast? Was it always doomed? Was I stupid to believe we had a chance? I almost texted him a dozen times, even typed it out. I miss you. Please don't disappear. Was it all fake to you? But I deleted every draft. If he wanted to walk away, I wasn't going to beg him to stay. 3 days later, I saw him, across campus, near the science building. He was talking to another faculty member, laughing, smiling. My stomach twisted. Was it real or just another mask? He didn't see me, or maybe he did, and looked away. That night, I got drunk, not sloppy, just quiet. 2 beers, alone, music playing low, phone face down. I thought about calling someone. Not him, just anyone. But I didn't. I sat there, trying to feel okay. I wasn't. The next morning, I checked the student portal. One new update. Professor Hart seminar. Class postponed until further notice. Just like that, he was gone again. I walked the campus like a ghost. Attending lectures without hearing anything, sitting in the library, pretending to study. People moved past me like nothing happened, because to them, nothing had. But to me, everything did. Then, out of nowhere, I got the call. Blocked number, static on the line. And then, his voice. Aiden, I'm sorry. My throat tightened. I didn't say anything, just listened. I'm off campus for a while. On leave. Because of the complaint? A pause. Yes. Did they suspend you? No. I took the leave voluntarily, but it was that or get investigated formally. So you ran. Silence again. Then, I'm trying to protect both of us. I can't keep doing this if it's hurting you. You leaving is what hurts. He sighed. I think about you every second. Then come back. I can't. Click. He hung up. I threw my phone across the room. Didn't care when it hit the floor. Didn't care when the screen cracked. Nothing mattered anymore. Weeks passed. He didn't return. I stopped waiting. Stopped hoping. Stopped pretending I was okay. And somewhere in that numbness, I started to forget what it felt like when he looked at me like I mattered, until one night, it all came flooding back. Campus bar. End of midterms. Everyone celebrating. I wasn't planning to go, but something in me said, you have to move on. So I went, alone. I stood by the edge of the dance floor, drink in hand, lights flashing, laughter, and then a voice, low, familiar. I didn't think you drank. I turned, and there he was, Professor Hart. Same coat, same eyes, but something different, softer, less guarded. What are you doing here? I asked. I came back. For the bar. For you. The words hit me like lightning. Why now? Because I realized something, he said, voice shaking slightly. You're the only thing that makes me feel alive. And I don't want to live like a ghost anymore. I swallowed hard, heart racing, hands sweating. This doesn't fix everything, I said. I know there's still the university. I know there's still risk. I'll take it, even if it ruins your career. He stepped closer, close enough that the noise faded, close enough that I could smell the familiar scent of his cologne. I'd rather be jobless and honest and respected and hollow. And in that moment, I knew he wasn't running anymore. He was choosing us. We left the bar without another word, back to my dorm, back to the silence that had once felt so painful. But this time, it felt full, hopeful. He sat on the edge of my bed, hands clasped between his knees. I don't know how this ends, he said, but I want to fight for it. I sat beside him, looked straight into his eyes. Then let's stop hiding. His eyes widened. You mean we go to the board? I said. We tell the truth, all of it, that it was mutual, that nothing inappropriate happened during class. that we're consenting adults. He didn't blink, didn't flinch, just nodded. And for the first time in weeks, I exhaled. To be continued in Part 7. Part 7. The truth nearly destroyed us, but it also set us free. You think telling the truth will set you free, but sometimes it breaks you first, exposes everything, and asks, are you strong enough to stand in the rubble? We decided to tell, not because we weren't scared, but because we were tired of hiding, tired of whispered meetings, tired of coded glances, tired of acting like love was something shameful. He emailed the dean first. Polite, professional, direct. We would like to meet in person regarding the recent inquiry. There are things we'd like to clarify together. No spin, no excuses, just truth. The response came quickly. Meeting confirmed for Thursday. Boardroom, 3 p.m. Both of us expected. That week was a blur. Every hour a countdown. Every moment electric with fear. What if this was the end? What if they didn't believe us? What if this love, the one thing that made us feel alive, was the very thing that got buried? He didn't sleep the night before. Neither did I. Thursday, the hallway outside the boardroom felt colder than it should have. I stood beside him, suit too tight, palms sweating. He reached over, touched my wrist, just once, just enough to say, I'm here, with you. The door opened. The boardroom was long and wood-paneled. A glass pitcher of water in the center. Notebooks, pens, laptops. 3 faces across from us. Dean Sullivan, Associate Provost Garcia, HR Representative Fields. All neutral, all unreadable. They asked us to sit, and then the dean folded his hands. Gentlemen, tell us what we need to know. He started, calm, measured, no fear in his voice. He explained that nothing inappropriate occurred during class. No relationship, no favoritism, no violations of academic code. But after the term ended, after grades were finalized, a connection grew, gradual, mutual, undeniable. He said it plainly. I fell for Aiden. I didn't expect to, but I did. And then it was my turn. I told him the truth, how we met, how he challenged me, how it started with conversations about ethics, and ended with something that defied all the rules we thought we understood. I told him I wasn't coerced, wasn't manipulated, that if anything, he was the one who kept pulling away, because he was scared, because he was trying to protect me. They asked questions, dozens. Did he ever offer you special treatment? No. Did you feel intimidated? Never. Did you pursue him while still enrolled in his class? No. We both waited. Every answer stripped another layer back, until all that was left was truth, raw and exposed. When it was done, the room fell quiet. They told us to wait outside. Deliberations would take time. We sat on a bench in the hallway, side by side, not touching, but close enough to feel the weight of everything. He turned to me. No matter what happens in there, I don't regret you. 30 minutes passed, then 40, then an hour. Finally, the door opened. We were called back in. Dean Sullivan looked tired, but not angry. He cleared his throat. We've reviewed your testimonies and the timeline presented. We've also interviewed other staff and students. A pause. While the situation is unusual, it does not appear that any university policy was breached at the time of your relationship's origin. I couldn't breathe. However, he continued, to maintain professional integrity, Mr. Hart, you will be placed on academic probation. Any further relationships with students will result in termination. He nodded once, accepting, grateful. Then Dean Sullivan turned to me. Aiden, you're not in violation of any conduct code, but we'd like to offer you a counseling resource should you need help navigating the emotional complexities of this situation. I smiled faintly. Thank you. I'm okay. They ended the meeting with words like caution and boundaries, but no threats, no punishments, no exile. We walked out of that boardroom lighter, not because it was over, but because the secret wasn't crushing us anymore. We had survived. Together. Outside the building, he stopped walking. "Come with me." "Where?" I asked. He didn't answer. Just took my hand. Right there, in the open. No fear, no shame. And I followed. We ended up at his apartment, the one that once held shadows and silence. But now, the windows were open, the lights were on, and everything felt real. He poured us wine. We sat on the couch. No space between us this time. "You know they'll still talk," I said. "Some will say we lied, that it's unethical, that we cross a line." "They'll say worse," he admitted. "Does it scare you?" He looked at me, and for once, there was no hesitation. "No, not anymore, because we told the truth, and we're still here." He kissed me, not like the first time, not rushed, not guilty. This kiss was slow. Sure, the kind that says, "We're not hiding anymore." Weeks passed. The whispers died down. Classes resumed, and we lived. Not loudly, not recklessly, but honestly. He still taught. I still studied. We met for lunch off campus, took walks by the lake, watched bad movies, and shared playlists and fell asleep on the couch. It wasn't fireworks every day. It wasn't scandal or thrill. It was something better. Peace. And one afternoon, as we lay side by side, he turned to me. "I want this forever, Aiden." I blinked, heart flipping. "I do too." To be continued in Part 8. Part 8. The last time he held me, everything changed. They say love is enough, but they never tell you what happens when life doesn't agree. Not every story ends the way we want. Sometimes it ends the way it has to, and that doesn't make it less real or less worth it. It just makes it human. 3 months passed. 3 quiet, beautiful months. No drama, no rumors, just us, late-night Thai food, jazz records on weekends, morning coffees made just the way I liked them. He knew all my moods, even the ones I didn't understand myself. And I knew his tells, the way his fingers tapped when he was nervous, the way he bit the inside of his cheek when he was deep in thought, the way he smiled at me when he thought I wasn't looking, like I was some miracle he hadn't expected. We built a routine, and for the first time in years, I felt safe inside it, until the letter came. It was a Thursday. I was in the kitchen making grilled cheese. He walked in, envelope in hand, brown, heavy, stamped from a university address. "What's that?" I asked. He didn't answer right away, just handed it to me. I opened it and read, "We are pleased to offer you the position of department chair at UCLA School of Philosophy, effective next term." I looked up, heart slowing. "Is this real?" He nodded, softly. "I applied a while back. Before any of this, I didn't think I'd get it." Silence. Heavy. "LA?" I asked, like, "California." "Yeah," he said. "It's a big step. Bigger team. Tenure track." His voice was calm, but his eyes, they were pleading. I swallowed hard. "When would you leave?" He hesitated. 2 months. And that's when I realized this wasn't a conversation. This was a countdown. I backed away, leaning against the counter. "So that's it? You're leaving?" "I haven't accepted it yet," he said quickly. "I wanted to talk to you first." "But you want it." It wasn't a question. He paused. "I want you more." I wanted to believe him, wanted to cling to it, but somewhere deep in my chest, I knew he'd always been ambitious, driven, disciplined, and I was still in school, still figuring myself out. We were at 2 different points in the story, trying to read from the same page. "I can't go with you," I said quietly. "I know," he replied. "I still have a year left." "I know." More silence, more pain. He stepped forward. "But this doesn't mean it ends." I met his eyes. "Doesn't it?" He reached for my hand. "No, not if we don't let it." That night, we didn't sleep. We just held each other. He traced circles on my back. I memorized the shape of his breath, and for those hours, it didn't feel like goodbye. It felt like the kind of love that fights. But love isn't always enough to bend time, or distance, or fate. He left 2 months later. I helped him pack, folded shirts into boxes, wrapped dishes in old newspaper, labeled his records carefully so they wouldn't get scratched. We kissed at the airport. No drama, no scene, just a kiss. Long, unbreakable, a memory carved into both of us. "I'll visit," I said. "I'll count the days," he whispered. And then he was gone. Weeks passed. We texted, called, video chatted late at night until my phone died in my hand. But it wasn't the same. The space between us grew heavier, harder to ignore, harder to fill. He was busy. Faculty meetings, paperwork, lecture prep. I was trying to finish my thesis, hold down a part-time job, smile when people asked if I was okay. Until one night, it happened. I called. He didn't answer. Then I texted, "Hey, missed you today. Everything okay?" Nothing. The next morning, still nothing. Then a message popped up. "Aiden, can we talk? Tonight?" My stomach dropped. That phrase, "Can we talk?" The universal code for heartbreak. I answered, "Yeah, 9. 9, he confirmed. I spent the whole day trying not to cry, trying to breathe, trying not to fall apart before I even knew what was coming. 9 p.m., call connected. His face appeared, soft, tired, and I already knew. "This isn't working," he said gently. I nodded, tears building. "I love you, Aiden. I really do." "I love you too," I whispered. "But I'm not here. I'm not present. You deserve more than just phone calls and maybe soon." I bit my lip, held back a sob. "You're not wrong." He looked down. I thought I could do both, be with you and chase this dream. But I'm failing at both. "So you're letting go," I said. "I'm setting us both free." I didn't scream, didn't beg, didn't try to fix it. Because some goodbyes aren't about giving up. They're about knowing when to stop hurting each other. We said "I love you" one last time and ended the call. And just like that, the screen went black. I didn't leave my bed the next day or the day after. It hurt more than I thought it would. Not because I didn't see it coming, but because I did, and I still hope anyway. A month passed, then 2. No texts, no calls, just silence and healing, and slowly, peace. Not the kind that comes all at once, but the kind that sneaks up on you when you least expect it. Like waking up one morning and realizing your chest doesn't feel as heavy. Like hearing a song that used to destroy you and finally being able to listen all the way through. And then one day, I opened my mailbox, a small envelope, no return address, just my name. Inside, a photo, him, in front of a lecture hall, laughing, candid, free. On the back, one sentence in his handwriting: "Some people leave, but they never stop loving." I stared at it for a long time, felt everything and nothing, because I knew this was our ending, not with hatred, not with regret, but with love. Still whole, still real, still ours. Sometimes, the most honest love stories aren't the ones that last forever. They're the ones that end with the truth still intact, with your head high and your heart finally quiet.